We'll start this video by going back in time a few weeks. I needed to adjust the front wheels for the toe in and toe out, and it would have been easy if I'd done this before I put the body on, but with the body on I couldn't put a tape between the two wheels in the rear. I could only have measure in the front, so I clamped these two boards on the wheels. They're the same height off the floor and they're level. And then I just measured between them and got it as close as I could. It was way off, so I'm glad I did this, but just tried to get them both wheels looking straight ahead. That was my goal, and they're probably not perfect, but they're pretty close right now. So I cut up that boat step that's been hanging around my shop forever, and I'm going to make a grab bar to go like where the windshield would go. I'm not very good at welding stainless. This stuff's pretty heavy, so give it a shot. The length of this stainless wasn't going to allow much of an overlap on the car body part, so I lengthened the overlap by making these wood plugs and making them extra long. So they're a little bit decorative, but mostly they're there to spread the bolts out where the stainless is bolted to the front of the car to make it strong, because it's kind of a grab bar for everybody getting in and out. So the two back fenders are ready to go on, I believe. I've been back and forth measuring height off the ground, overhang on the step, distance from the little grills, and I got about the best compromise I can get. Actually, it's pretty straight. So I'm going to drill through the little piece of plywood I put under it into the engine cover, put two bolts, and then I can take the whole thing off, clean it up, and caulk it and put it on correctly. It's going to be kind of close to drilling by the gas tank, so I got to be careful. This side's wide open. We had an event in front of our house this weekend. The Louisiana Marathon comes right in front of my house, so we had lots of people over, lots of kids. And the buggy was running, no fenders yet, but it was running, and lots of different people drove it. And I learned three things. One, it's got to have fenders, because you ride through wet grass and it just throws all this muck all over your back and everywhere. So the fenders are in progress, the two back ones are on. Also, the brake and the throttle, the brake pedal is kind of hidden back there. Two separate people hit the throttle instead of the brake. One of which was my bride, which caused her to run into a trailer, and she didn't pop the tire, but she popped the tube, so I got a tube ordered. So I got to reconfigure those a little bit. And thirdly, it just goes too damn fast, so I got to modify the throttle where it just won't open up so fast. Okay, two back fenders are done. Happy with them. The taillight brake lights are mounted. This was a motorcycle taillight deal, so I just bought two of them and cut the little bracket for the license plate off of one. Now they take three wires. They take a ground, one wire for the taillight and one wire for the brake light. So I just hooked them up together and I wired them into this old extension cord. And so there's my three wires, my ground and my two hots. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I wired the female part of an extension cord to the distribution box, and I made a plastic bracket for it, so I can just plug these lights in when I want to remove the rear cover. I just unplug it. The male part just comes with the cover, and the female part stays there. So that's all good stuff. And now for the bad stuff. I wired it up underneath here, which is a bear, because you gotta bend your back the way it doesn't want to bend. And if you turn on the key and turn on the light switch, you get tail lights. So that's awesome. So if you turn off the lights and hit the brake pedal, the brake lights come on. The problem is they stay on until you hit the brake pedal again. So what happened was, I thought I was buying a momentary switch, and I bought an off-on switch, which is totally not going to work. So I just need to change the switch. Problem is, I got to remove the grill. The problem with removing the grill is I have to remove the front axle yet one more time. Gee whiz. So the front fenders were glued up on the same mold. I just made it a little bit longer. And then I glued these two, and then I glued a third one 4.5 inches wide, and I ripped it up into 1 1/8 inch strips, and that's going to be my doublers. I'm going to have a doubler on each side of the front fender because it's kind of freestanding. So I've got the doubler on one side and it's gluing, and when this dries I'll put the doubler on the other side, and then we'll get them out there and see how to mount them. Yesterday I took out my gas pedal linkage and brought it over to the foundry and cut the gas pedal loose from here and moved it over. I'm trying to get some more separation between the gas pedal and the brake pedal. While I had it out, I drilled 3 more additional holes. While I had it out, I drilled 3 more additional holes. That's where the throttle cable hooks up. And I'm thinking that one of these 3 new holes might solve my problem of the cart being a little too peppy. This will, the closer I get, the farther down I go by hooking up the cable, the less stroke I'm going to have on the throttle. So now one good thing with the gas pedal removed, I think I can actually get to the, I think I could actually reach the switch to replace it with a proper momentary switch. Right now the back cover cowling engine compartment fits pretty dang good. It pivots here and then folds down against the back of the seat. I'm a little concerned because it is really just sitting on this little point right here and this little point right here, and this stuff's not that strong. So what I'm going to do this morning is to weld something under here to give it, spread that load out a little bit. Just be a preventative measure because it's working good right now. So I set 4 little angles, got 2 back here clamped, the paint ground off, and I got 2 under here, and they all have a little bit of weight on them. So I'm going to take the engine cover off and weld them. Unplug my lights.
Making use of the overhead crane to finish painting little parts of the frame that have never been painted. So much easier with the crane.
The front fenders are sitting on blocks and looking pretty copacetic. Pretty the same on both sides. This one is twisted, like it was glued twisted, but it's flexible enough so when I put a brace on it, I think I can get that out. So pretty happy with this. I'm going to work on the running board. This running board needs to come out a little bit in the front because this base right here is bigger on this one than it is on this one. This one's good here, but it needs to come out on the back. So I just have a pair of bolts, and I'll take them off, scoot it where it needs to be, and probably drill a new hole. They don't show because they're up under the fenders. Fenders will be supported somewhere up front. I don't know how, maybe from down to here. This, I can mount it from here, or this plate right here, but all this other stuff moves with the suspension. So, and then I got the 2 big lights coming, so I got to mess with those too. Maybe I shouldn't make up anything until I get the lights in my hand. I'm going to take the fenders off and redo these running boards, try to get them straightened out. I got them where I'm pretty happy with them, location wise, and I got them clamped to a piece of aluminum so they'll be removable, and I can put them back and they should be more or less in the same place. And I'm thinking from down here, a nice curved piece of steel to come under here, and the matching one here. It'll have to be removable, so it'll have to be a bolted connection here. And then I can put a straight between to mount the 2 headlights on when they come. So pretty happy with everything. That's what I'm going to do, is try to make a curve, a nice pleasing curve that's maybe even repeatable, or has to be repeatable.
For the fender supports that curved member, I'm using some 3/4 square tubing. It's fairly light gauge. Pretty light, but pretty stiff, and I was not able to bend it with my little homemade rolling mill like I was kind of hoping, but I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen. So then, in a vain attempt, I was trying to hold a torch and heat the metal and roll it at the same time, but that wasn't happening either. It might have worked if there was another person that could hold a rosebud and I could have two hands to crank. Anyway, I gave up and just clamped the square tube in the vise vertically, and heated it with a torch and bent it in little small increments and got a pretty good curve. The first piece is easy. The second piece you have to match what you did with the first one. So you got to be patient, work it a little bit at a time. Sometimes you got to go and unbend it a little bit to try to make a match, but in the end it came out pretty good. I have a pair of bent curved fender supports.
This aluminum extrusion sitting on the tire and clamped, it holds the fenders perfectly in place, but it's in the way of fitting the permanent braces. So clamp this piece of aluminum and I got propped up on each side. I'm going to take this out and see if it stays put. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. So I stood these two brackets up and tried to hold them snug against the bottom of the fenders and tried to hold them next to the frame and mark them, and one of them marked here and one of them marked here. So I'm going to split the difference and cut them, and this will be both the same heights from the frame to the bottom of the fender. I got the two pieces of curved steel matching fairly well. I got these two pieces of steel tacked on there temporarily just to hold it together. There'll be a permanent one here to hold the lights, but I don't have the lights yet, so these will stay for now. And I welded a plate here and here, and I'm going to drill it and tap two bolts to bolt into here. That way it'll be removable. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the 2/4 inch holes here, and then I'm going to pick it up, take the wheels off, and drill and tap the 1/4 by 20 holes to bolt this thing on there. And then we'll mark this, cut it to length, cut a bevel on it, finish that end a little bit.
So these little taps are consumables. They get dull, and it's not like a drill bit that you can sharpen them. You just need to chunk them and get new ones. And this one should have gone in the garbage a long time ago. It was hit or miss whether I was going to snap this thing off in the hole, but I got lucky and I got all 4 holes tapped, and then it went in the garbage.
Progress on the front fenders. The little brackets are all in, and I need to replace the bolts with something more appropriate, and I need to get my lights in hand so I can put the permanent cross member, but did okay. And the little grab bar up front is also very good. This is replacing the windshield that I decided not to put on, but I needed something up there. And it's also very handy for holding on to when you're getting in and out of the car. And it's pretty strong, so all good stuff. Santa Claus came yesterday and brought me my lights. I'm pretty happy with them. These are motorcycle lights. And I think I just need to put a bar right where this gray bar is. And I'll put a big one there, and I have these little lights that I bought first. But they turned out to be way too small, but I could also put them here, so I have 2 lights on each side. So, weld that, and that might possibly be the last weld on the entire car. Wouldn't that be sweet? So this is our bracket that holds up the 2 front fenders and 4 front lights, and it's got a good coat of paint on it, so should be able to put it on tomorrow. So this morning I put the lights on. Man, I'm really happy. They look good. And I bolted the fenders for permanent. I made this more round, and I tapered it from here down to the wood, and it looks a whole lot better, both of them. So what's next is, well, I got to do some wiring to make the lights work, and upholstery should be here soon. I've ordered it like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. Cleaning out a bunch of junk boxes of electrical stuff. I found these 3 little buzzers, and they're all kind of mousy, but I'm hooking them all up together and I'm going to put them in the car.
And I got the horn. I put the horn button down here where I had some room. So back in the day when they first started erecting hurricane fences or chain link fence or quaid fence or whatever you want to call it, they used to be kind of proud of them. So they put these little horses and dogs and all kind of animals on the top. So I took one of them and I cut the horse off. And I'm going to mount this on the front of the car until something better comes along. So I drilled holes for the stud and put the horse head up here, but I cannot reach the bottom of the studs because of all the steering junk up front. So I just caulked it in place, which is probably just as well. If it gets hit or something, it'll probably come loose without ripping the whole front of the car off. So it's probably best that it's not bolted to that plastic. So our foam finally came in the mail, and I've never really cut foam before, but I found that my electric fish cleaning knife does really, really well. Riding in the car with foam is like all the difference in the world. You don't slide around side to side and you got a little bit of cushion. So just waiting on my fabric to come in and I'll cover these up. So I'm not an upholstery guy, but I think I can make this work. I cut a piece of plywood that's smaller than the seat, so there's a little gap all the way around it, and I cut the foam exact size. So I'm going to glue the plywood to the foam, and then I'm just going to try to wrap the fabric over it and staple it on the back side. Let's see how that goes. Got my genuine fake leather in the mail today. Start on that seat cushion tomorrow. This is how cheap boat seats are put together, and they never last very long. But then on the other hand, this thing is never going to see rain. I can't imagine us pulling it out of the shed on a rainy day, and it's probably going to only have a few hours use every year. So I'm pretty confident this is going to last as long as probably we own the car. Pulled it tight, stapled it, put it over. You know, for its intended purpose, I think it's going to be great. So the back cushion is fastened in place with these T-bolts through the back of the seat so that you don't have to worry about it falling. So the cushions are done, easy schmeezy, nothing fancy. Got the wrinkles here. The only way not to have that is to sew a seam all the way around here with a flat piece of fabric, and I wasn't going to do that. So seats are done. We need to paint the fenders and paint the wheels. Got to decide on the color. So this is the last picture of the car before painting. We painted the wheels the same color as the body, and then the little hub in the middle the same color as the fenders. Painted the steering wheel black. Painted the fenders the same color as the seats. They look white in the pictures, but they're not, and it makes it a lot better. They don't kind of jump out at you like they used to. So it's painted, and I'm sure I could work on this thing forever, but I'm calling it done.
Close your eyes.